Hey everyone, welcome to the Called video series. This week we're talking about discipleship and what that looks like when you live out a life according to what you've been called to do. Whoever that is, whatever that may be, you are living a life out, enduring through the trials of life change. You're trying to take on that authority and use the license that you've been given through Jesus to actually live life out well. And how does that look? Well, people will begin to see the change that you are pushing through, whether it's a good change and you're becoming a better person, or whether you feel like you are met with trial after trial and you're having to push through and really endure through those life changes to be who you've been called to be and make a difference in the world around you. You find that it's much harder than you expected. Well, as you live out a life differently and live a life that you've been called to live, especially when you're honoring the Lord, people are going to begin to watch that and they see the change that you are pushing through and that you are focusing on and that you were called to more. Those people are going to be impacted by your life, as well as you being impacted by the life that you've chosen to live and what God is going to do in and through you. I know that when my mom was really little, she would like to go to church because she liked the crafts. She was definitely little elementary school, and you know, her parents, so my grandparents, would let her take the bus. This is back when kids would take the bus to church, and they would, let her come home, which was great. She really enjoyed the crafts. Well, during Easter time, the teachers were saying, hey, it's Easter time, bring someone to church that you love, and it's going to be a great service, which, understandable. Everybody tries to go to church on Easter. Well, they tried to. So, of course, she comes home that day, and she's like, Dad, she's total daddy's girl. Hey, I really want to go to church on Sunday. I want you to come to church with me. And he's like, I don't really know. And my mom's got 4 other siblings, so it's 5 kids in total, and she was the youngest. So everybody else was older, and you got teens, and there was just a lot going on, and you got my Nana, and so it was a large family, so if they were going to go somewhere, it was going to be a trip. And they were like, why are we going to wake up early on Sunday? Or, are you sure you want to go? And my mom told her dad, my pap, and she said, please, Daddy, come to church with me. They said, bring someone you love, and you know that I love you with my whole heart. What dad would say no to his daughter like that? So when she comes to him with tears in her eyes, like, please, Dad. So, needless to say, he packed up the family and they went to church on Easter Sunday. Well, with that church service, my Nana and my pap went, and the kids went to their children's ministries, and they felt like they had taken a bath, is what they used to say. Like, they walked into church, and when they walked out, it was like they felt different, and they didn't really know what it was. They did not go to church regularly. They were not Christians, didn't really worry about religion or the Lord in any way. They just, my Nana was a stay-at-home mom, and my pap had a job. So they were just normal people, but they felt different when they left the church service. So they went home and they talked about it amongst themselves, and that was during the time, this is back in the day, sorry, Mom, but it's back in the day where the pastors would come to your house like, hey, we saw that you were a new member. Did you enjoy our church service? Do you have any questions? So that Wednesday, so church was on a Sunday, that Wednesday, the pastor had come to check on my grandparents and say, hey, how did you enjoy the service? And sure enough, my grandfather was like, hey, we're glad you're here. We're trying to read this Bible thing that you were reading out of on Sunday, and we just don't really understand how you get saved. So, needless to say, the pastor talked to them about the grace of Jesus Christ dying on the cross for us, and he led them to a life that loved Jesus. And from then on out, my grandparents have lived a life that has done nothing but glorify God. Well, that was all because of my mom's actions when she was just a child. She said, Dad, I love you enough to ask you to please come to church with me. And he stepped out in faith and said, all right, whatever. And he didn't even know he was stepping out in faith. He was just stepping out based on the life of his little girl. She discipled him into making a different kind of action in his life to where he was impacted by God. What are you doing in your life that people are watching, or that you could reach out to those people and say, hey man, because I love you this much, I'm asking you to take a chance? Are those people going to take a chance and hear you out, and maybe their lives can be changed as well? If you look in the Bible in 1st and 2nd Kings, this is the Old Testament, you can see the story of Elijah and Elisha, and these were 2 men. Elijah was a prophet, and he did miracle after miracle to honor and glorify God and make a difference and make a point that God is a real God in the Old Testament with those people. Well, he was discipling this man Elisha, and Elisha was followed Elijah and learned from him and was discipled under him and learned how he loved God, saw how he studied, saw how he worked hard to be who God had called him to be. So when Elijah went to pass away, he said, what can I pray for you for before I die? And Elisha says, I want double of what you've got. I want to live a life doubly as good, and what I want to do double for God, as much as I can for God from you. I've learned so much from you. Help me to do more. So Elijah prays for him, and sure enough, if you look, Elisha actually does double of what Elijah had done during his lifetime, and that's all because Elisha asked for more. My grandfather was able to do more because of the life position that he was in. He was an adult. God raised him up. He's one of the associate pastors at our church now. He's made a difference in countless lives, all because of the life that my mom chose to live as a young child. And my mom has been ministering to my grandfather and to me, and my grandfather has ministered to people after people. Counseled lives after lives. And it's all because God used these people to minister to someone else, and those people have taken it and run with it. Where do you find yourself in that? Are you someone who needs to look at someone and say, hey, I just need some help. I would love to do what I'm called to do, but I just don't know how. Find a good community, find someone, or read through the Bible and see what God can teach you, and you can become a disciple of what God is teaching you and learn from someone. If you are someone who is going out and living life and you feel like you're, hey, what can I do to glorify God? Pray and ask God to show something. Hey, how can I live out the calling to the best of my ability so that I can make a difference in someone else's life and push forward the ministry and push the good news that Jesus Christ saves lives no matter what. So it's a great, great word. That's why the gospel is called the good news. I encourage you to open up your Bible and check out all the other different stories of discipleship and how they've impacted each other and how they impacted the world, and see what God can do through you, and just ask him. Elisha asked for more and God granted it. Just because Elijah prayed for him. Who can you ask for prayer from, or who can you be praying for, and that their lives can be changed, and that all together, one by one person, we can begin to make a difference in the world. My mom made a difference in my grandfather made a difference in the rest of his family, and it has just pulsed out, and it's just changed the world. It's changed our church. It's made an impact on many, many people, and now here I am as an example explaining these things to you. Where do you find yourself at that you can really make a difference and disciple someone, or become a disciple and really follow after God's heart and see what he has to say? I'm going to give you guys one quick Bible verse that I really, really like, and it's Colossians 3:2. It says, set your minds on things above, not on things that are on the earth. You're going to be met with struggle. You're going to be met with trials, but remember that you are following God because he's called you higher. He's called you to be better, and that this world is not going to hold you down because you have someone greater backing you up and leading you and guiding you and calling you higher. So, with that being said, next week is our last week. We're talking about going out and making disciples and going out and doing what you've been called to do and what that looks like. I'm so excited to hear what you think, and know that next week's our last week. Oh, gosh, it's crazy. Thanks for sticking with me. Say your prayers, and I hope you guys have an awesome weekend.